Hello, I'm Shariel McHenry, PLC President at Connor State College. I'm here with a special guest of mine. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Alan Gordon, and I am the elementary principal at Warner Elementary School in Warner, Oklahoma.
Thanks for coming and speaking with me today. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, I have a few questions for you to answer.
All right.
Black History Month, and this is one way that Connor State College is celebrating Black History Month, is doing these videos and interviews and posting them online on YouTube and the Facebook page.
Okay.
All right, question number one. What's something that makes you proud of your heritage?
Something that makes me proud of my heritage is I just like to see where we started from, where our families have came from and how far we've actually grown and come. From us to start, I actually think about that this morning, from starting years back when things were horrible, we still survived and we still pushed on and we still persevered. So that's something that I can just say makes me feel proud to be a Black American, is that we are a strong group of people.
Absolutely, I definitely agree. Okay, who was your favorite activist and who do you think was the most influential?
My favorite activist, if you would have asked me probably a year ago, it would have definitely been Martin Luther King Jr., just because, being from a predominantly white town and a predominantly white school, the activist that we did hear about was Martin Luther King Jr. That's the only one that we were taught about. And as I got older and I moved on and I kind of seen how the world is, if you ask me that question right now, which you are, I would probably say one of my favorite activists would be Malcolm X. And I got to say Malcolm X because when it comes down to it, the situation that he was trying to get everybody to understand is that we just want to be treated equally and fair. We just want that. And we're asking, we're pleading just for you to treat us like we're human, and you can't do it. So now we have to go by any means necessary. And sometimes I feel like that is needed in order for people to understand we are just as equally as human as you are. And we just want the same respect that is required from us. We want that same respect that's given to us that people require for us to do. So if you ask me my favorite activist, I would have to say Malcolm X right now.
Absolutely. Going into my next question, if you could have fought alongside one of the leaders during the civil rights movement, who would it be?
I would have definitely still fought with Martin Luther King Jr. And the reason why I would have fought with him was, number one, I can admire a person who can try to take the nonviolent, peaceful approach to solving problems, because I feel like if I talk to you and I talk to you with a level head, we should be able to make anything happen. And I liked his approach and how he handled the situations that, that were in his face, and he handled it with such class and dignity. And I would definitely have liked to work with that and amongst that, just because I feel that in this world that we live in, any issue can be resolved peacefully if people just take the time to listen to each other.
Absolutely. I feel like it takes a strong person to be able to go through all of that he went through without resulting in fighting and
exactly. Violence. And I think the way that he did it makes me think that if we kind of take that approach to solving some of our own issues as a person, as a group of people, and I'm talking about our Black on Black crimes that we have, if we took that time to have a decent conversation with each other to resolve issues, we would understand that we're all in the same fight together. And I think that I would like to see us do that more as a group of people amongst ourselves.
I definitely agree. My next question is, how do you celebrate Black History Month?
Well, because I am an administrator in this building, I try to make sure that I always put something out there for Black History Month. Here in my elementary building, I usually always try to put one program together during February. My first year we were here, we did kind of like a mock TV show where I was a TV show host and another TV show host, and they were famous Black Americans that came out. And to this last year before COVID hit, we had another one where we did like a spin on the Magic School Bus, and we toured like famous Black towns in Oklahoma. We went from Tallahassee to, you know, those type of pieces of information that's here in our own state and town that our kids need to be aware of. So I try to make it an entertaining way of getting the kids to remember it. But I think more importantly, what I want my students to get from Black history is that it is our history, period. If you take that the adjective off of that, you know, we would all come to understand that at the end of the day, this is American history. It just so happened that during the time that all these things were happening and occurring, we didn't get to be allowed to have recognition for our things. So we had to put together a month where we could recognize the things that we did contribute to American history. So
Absolutely.
I think that, you know, just trying to keep everybody aware and respecting the fact that it happens and that we have this situation is pretty much one of my main goals, especially here in the elementary field, because I know for most kids here in Warner, America, Black history is not on the priority of things to be taught in the school. So if I can just get it introduced, that they understand that it is out there, so they don't be 17 or 18 saying, I didn't know that this existed. They can't say that anymore because I've introduced it as early as first grade down here.
I think that's absolutely amazing. A lot of younger children don't get exposed and they don't learn about this type of things in school. But I think it's absolutely amazing that you do that.
Yes.
Introduce them into their history.
Yes, and one thing that I especially with the times that has happened this year, like the weather, it kind of took like 10 days out of our school month right there, and we're only in school 20 days in February. You know what I mean? Actually, maybe 18 because we have 2 days that we're off in there. It's a lot to try to squeeze into 18 days, but the thing is, like I said, I want these kids to understand there is more to Black history than Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks. Don't get me wrong, they are very influential. However, there are a lot of other things that has been contributed from our African American culture that should be, again, just respected, you know. And I think that when it comes down to it, if people take time to listen and understand, you know, they'll realize the importance of the things that have been contributed to by our nation. I mean, by our culture and our people to our nation.
Absolutely. Next question. Do you think we have reached equal rights now today?
I do not. I think that we have come a long way from where we started from, but we are still far behind the mark. And I think the more that we think about the world that we living in, we can kind of pick and pull and see that it's not equal all the way around. Like it's not equal when it comes to our culture and our race and our skin. It's not equal when it comes to gender. It's not equal when it comes to it's just not. And I think that if you ask me, we've come a long way from where we started from, but we got a long way to go. And I think that if anything, I hear people say this, and I don't think that it's, how can I say it without being, I'm just gonna say it. I don't think that we should be in a world where any person has to say, well, I want to go here, but I can't because I look like this. That shouldn't be the world that we live in. I think that the world that we should be in right now, it doesn't matter if you white, green, yellow with polka dots. You should be able to go anywhere in the world that you want to work at, as long as you are qualified to give the material and do what you're supposed to do. And I think that we sit back and we expect so much from people and from things that we forget that when it comes down to it, if you can come and do the job, what does it matter? What does it matter what your background is? What does it matter what it should not matter. But I think that I had to say no. I think that we definitely still don't have equal rights. No, ma'am, I do not.
Definitely. Moving into my next question, why is it important to celebrate not only Black History Month, but Black history in all
Black history is important because that's very, I'm glad you asked that question. Black history is important because I feel that if we understand the whole background that America was built upon, you could understand why it's important to have Black history. And I feel that it shouldn't. I also feel like this, and maybe I may be wrong for saying it. I just also feel like if you took that word off of that, the adjective, the Black off of Black history, the key point is history. It's something that we built upon. And again, 400 years of being slaves and doing all this, and we helped build this country. We helped establish this country. We helped create things that happen here. For people to still not see the importance of being treated equally and fairly is sad to me. But I think that goes back to elementary school, early education. It's not being taught. So what's being taught at home with most of these children is the negative side of our culture, especially if it's not any type of minorities there to kind of influence you. You kind of take what you hear from your family, your relatives, the people that live with you. You take that as the word. And I think that yes, Black history, that word is very important, but if it was just tied into being history, this part of history, and when I say history, I don't want to just talk about us being slaves and that's it. And I don't want to talk about the civil rights movement and that's it. Let's get down to the nitty gritty and let you know this is part of our history. This is part of American history. And the roles that we took during that time, and we still persevered as a group of people, that should be commended. And I think that it shouldn't be just a month that we say, hey, it's Black History Month, and then we be done with it. I think that's something that should be continuing from here on out, because we just didn't do a month worth of service for our country.
That was a great way to sum it up. Well, that was all the questions I had for you. Is there anything you wanted to add?
I really appreciate you giving the chance to do this. I think it's absolutely excellent. I would tell anybody that's listening out there, or any person that we're dealing with, it is a lot of people that has created this world that we live in, that have contributed to the luxuries, I say luxuries that we have. However, what I think that is more important that I would want to see from this video and from anybody else is that we learn to just respect the history that people have brought here. You know, I look at it like this, you know, we'll have 1 million people saying all these different things if a person doesn't stand and salute the flag. But if we don't, you know, if we just kind of dismiss Black history, nobody says nothing, and it's okay. I think that has got to change. I think that we have to understand, you know, if you don't want to celebrate this part of history, why should we have to celebrate that part of history? And why should we be condemned if we don't celebrate it the way that you do? So if anything, I would just want people to understand, you may not know every Black person here that did this, and not all of us even know them. You know what I mean? Like, we don't even know them. For our own people, I think it's very important for us to be educated and know where we come from, because if we don't know where we come from, we don't know where we're going. Okay. And I think that if we are more knowledgeable about us and our backgrounds, we would carry ourselves a lot differently than what some of us do. So I don't want to always be that we're going to point the finger at somebody else, because it is what it is. But at the same time, we as a group of, and our culture, a group of people, we have to understand the importance of the struggles that our people went through and the sacrifices they had to go through to get us to where we are. And we had to take advantage of that and do our best with it in those roles, whether it be a principal like I am, or whether you're an engineer, or whether you're a college student, whatever the case may be in your role, you should always present a positive image of strong Black people, because that's what we are.
Exactly. I absolutely agree. Well, I want to say thank you again for speaking.
You're so welcome.
Taking time out of your day.
No problem. You're all welcome.